All right, let's kick things off with Tatsumaki. How dateable is she? The big thing with Tatsumaki is that she's just very mean to everyone around her and can get angered extremely quickly. She's someone who can snap super easily, and that's not really something you want to deal with. She has a lot of issues, is really what it is. She has an inability to be vulnerable and kind and intimate with people because of her troubled past, being effectively a human test subject and having to basically act as the only one protecting her younger sister. The only person who, was really able to help her is Blast. He's effectively an absentee dad, not only to his own child, but to Tatsumaki as well. And so I think she's very emotionally guarded and closed, and that sort of rubs off on her being abrasive, and she's overly proud because she needs to be powerful and she needs to be confident in her abilities because she's the person who helps everyone and she's unwilling to be helped. I wouldn't necessarily say that you couldn't do anything with her or have a long-term relationship with her, but the big issue is that I don't think she would be willing to open up to it. She would keep herself at a distance and be unreachable. No matter what you do, she just wouldn't open up and she wouldn't trust anyone else. It's really obvious through her actions that she absolutely adores her younger sister. It's just that her way of protecting her family and loving her family is sort of by isolating them and herself and making sure that she fixes all the problems and she does all the stuff. And she's trying to protect Fubuki, but also trying to push her forward, but it's in a very blunt and problematic way. And so I think she's someone that just doesn't quite have her life put together and needs to do a lot of emotional growing before they can be, available and have a proper relationship. Tatsumaki is not someone you can really date now because she has her own stuff to work through. And it's something that you can't really help her with. I think that as a person, she's a good person. But as someone to spend your life with or to try and have a real long term relationship with, she's not there yet. She could get there, but she has to do a lot of growing on her own to get to that. She's like a C tier. Up next is Captain Mizuki. Well, for one, she's super cute. Tall muscle girl is like an amazing archetype, right? Just fantastic. But her pluses go far more than just being skin deep. Being fit and attractive is a nice positive, but really she just seems like a warm, caring person who will do everything she can to help her friends. We really only see her show up once in the first fight against the Monster Association. In that fight, she spends all of her time helping people. But the biggest issue that I see with Mizuki is that she's too willing to help and she's too supportive. She puts herself in danger trying to help others. She has a very impulsive, act first, think later mindset. In the little bit of screen time she actually has fighting, she gets herself in danger like 3 times. It's not because she's necessarily incapable of defending herself. It's that she goes out of her way to help people, at the detriment of her own safety. She has a good sense of honor. She tries to help everyone she can, and she tries to pay people back whenever possible. She has a very good relationship with her mentor, Super Ally Darkshine, where when she sees that he has sort of lost his confidence in his physique, she's devastated because she knows how much he's hurting and wants to help, but she can't. The big thing you'd have to be concerned with someone like Mizuki is you kind of have to make sure she doesn't harm herself by being too selfless. She's someone who will easily be altruistic and self-sacrificing because she just wants to help people that much. And so as someone in a relationship with her, you'd kind of have to make sure that she doesn't compromise herself to a unreasonable degree. But overall, Captain Mizuki is like a super solid S tier. She's super kind, she's super positive, she's super bubbly, and hear me out, watermelon. Though I think she would probably be too nice to do it to you. So that's another downside. I don't think she'd be willing to hurt you, even if you wanted to be hurt. Third on the list is Wavy Yaza. She's a difficult sell. So the big thing with Wavy is she's an idol who has some pretty devout and crazy fans. So even if everything with her is good, which I don't think they would be, but even if they were, just by being with her, you have the scrutiny of all her fans, and you basically become a celebrity by proxy. Or you try to keep it secret and sort of have that go under the radar and under the paparazzi. But then if you ever get caught, that's going to make it this whole big scandal. But beyond her popularity, she's involved with the Neo Heroes, which is a very shady organization. They're perfectly willing to accept criminals, force people into debt, and just generally do some pretty illegal and problematic stuff. And it's not like she's some low level grunt in the Neo Heroes. She is a leader. She has say and she can do stuff. And it's not like she's half heartedly involved. She's fully complicit in it. She might even be driving it forward. As a result of her being a cyborg, her body is almost untouchably hot, at least uncomfortably hot. It kind of varies from being feverish to actively hurting your hand when you touch her from the 2 times we've seen it, which means no cuddles, any sort of physical contact with her will just hurt. I really think that your chances of like actually having a fulfilling relationship with her are almost zero because she just doesn't have any reason to care about anyone else. And I don't think she's kind of someone who would. So I would say she's probably D tier. She's someone that even if you could get involved with them, it would be unsatisfying and probably detrimental to you as a whole. And you're just going to be ignored or used or human trafficked, like sold into the Neo Heroes somehow. Next on the list, we got Tank Top Girl. There's nothing but winning here. And the reason is tank top. Any girl who's wearing a tank top is at least A tier dateability, right? Like the tank top is just too powerful. Psychos is about as problematic as you get. Let's start with the upsides first because the downsides are numerous. The upsides are she's super, super hot, super cute. She's evil. I like an evil girl. Has a great fashion sense and she's pretty smart. All those things are pretty good, right? She's got the looks, she's got the brains, she's got the evil. The issue is she's too evil, right? Just from looking at Orochi alone, she's 100% willing to manipulate people and she basically has no loyalty to anyone. We see this with Rhino Wrestler. She just absolutely lets them die. She will manipulate and use everyone around her to her own goals. Right? She's determined and smart, but she uses it to hurt people. And she's kind of also insane from what we can see of her backstory. Like, I don't necessarily think she completely recovered from her mental breakdown of trying to see the future. So I don't think she's someone who you can really be around and not get either turned into a monster like Orochi, get used as fodder like almost everyone else, or she'll just straight up kill you. Psychos has to be just the lowest of the low. D for death. Like you will die. Another monster of a woman, but much less likely to kill you, is Mosquito Girl, especially Mosquito Girl post House of Evolution. The House of Takoyaki is way safer. Monster girls are great. Insect monster girls are great too. One of the better ones. She's at least able to restrain her urge to kill because she's able to run the cashier and customer service job at the House of Takoyaki and not kill everyone. She's at least not a bloodthirsty monster in the way that Psychos is. I feel like Psychos could not run a Takoyaki stall. As soon as someone ticks her off, she'd just crush them. But Mosquito Girl is like actually capable of not. And she's not entirely lawless because she listens to Dr. Genius, right? Who's kind of her father. But then that brings up another issue is if you date her, you have to deal with Dr. Genius, who might just try to run experiments on you, right? Like you might go over to try to pick her up in the takoyaki stall, and then all of a sudden you're kidnapped by a gorilla and shoved in a test tube. So like that's a risk. Maybe Dr. Genius is chill. He's kind of had his entire worldview shattered and has given up on most of his passions in life. So perhaps he's just chill and you can crack open some beers with him. But he could also, try to mutate you and all that other stuff. But assuming that Dr. Genius is fine, Mosquito Girl has potential. If you're willing to take the risk, I think she averages out to like a C tier. Now, if you're really into risks, Duess is an option. She's another monster girl who is like super duper hot, pretty evil too. Got a wicked tongue if you're into that. She has crazy regeneration power, so she can take a pounding, right? She can get slammed against a wall and recover from it. She can get her head crushed and recover from it. So like, there's nothing you could do to her that she couldn't take. She's extremely flexible to an unhuman degree. The big, huge, colossal red flag is, as her name suggests, she is a massive, massive sadist. With mind control powers too. So you really do not have a chance of like a normal relationship with her. Even if for whatever reason she likes you and doesn't just make you her slave involuntarily with her whip, it's probably not going to be a normal relationship. So you have to really, really be into that. For dateability and like not losing your mind and becoming a slave, she is D tier. But if you're really, really kinky and wants a pseudo consensual 24/7 master slave relationship, she's an option. But dateability is D tier. Like you're going to do S when you're with her. You get the joke? Either way, going to a safer option, we have mycoplasma. Yeah, she's still sort of a very light monster girl, right? She's sort of a Raijin inspired performer who is mostly humanoid. But even though she seems to be a very supportive and caring person, the biggest issue is she's already taken. You can't date her. You can't date Maiko because she has Electric Catfish Man. So, like, D tier for unavailability. But dang, she fine. How old is she? Okay. Uh, I am not like a lot of other YouTubers who are into that sort of thing. So let's just take her off the list all the way down, all the way down. All right. Ending things off with Fubuki. Fubuki is a lot like Tatsumaki, her older sister, in that she has a lot of issues. But at the core of who she is, she's a good, caring person. Now, is she kind of crazy and willing to gut people with a box cutter? Absolutely. She has tried. Is she very bossy and insecure about who she is? Yes. She's always been protected and sort of sequestered away by Tatsumaki. And so she doesn't have that self confidence. So she has to go and form this whole group to feel like she's capable of stuff. And being overly reliant on others, even though she's a super capable person. And she's really holding herself back because of her fear of being alone. She's a smart and capable woman, being able to run an entire group and the finances and keep all that organized because the Blizzard group isn't mismanaged. It's just unnecessary and a ball and chain for her. Even though she sticks with the Blizzard group almost all the time, when push comes to shove and they're defeated or she's by herself, she doesn't give up and she keeps trying. She does her best whenever possible. And she tries to prove herself whenever possible because she's continuously repressed by Tatsumaki. You know, part of the reason why she doesn't necessarily listen to no or listen to stop is because that's the only thing Tatsumaki has ever told her, right? If she listened to no, to stop, to don't do that, she couldn't do anything but live in the cage that's been constructed for her. You know, this is where someone would probably say like I can fix her. Both Tatsumaki and Fubuki are very much I can fix her type of girls. But being 100% real with you, I can fix her is a very dangerous mentality to have. The I can fix her is sort of saying if I can make them a different person than they are now, then we can have a good relationship. Making an entire relationship that can take months, years, decades even, on the premise of they will eventually become dateable is a losing strategy. You can't force people to change. No matter how hard you try, you can't force people to be fixed. I'd say Fubuki and to a lesser degree Tatsumaki are I can fix her type people, but I really wouldn't recommend it. So I'd put Fubuki in B tier. All right, boys, now it's time to talk about the best girl. Genos, best girl. He can cook, he can clean, super loyal, pays all the bills. He's a robot, so you know he can take a beating. Damn, he's cute in an apron, and he'll never do you wrong. Absolutely best girl. No notes, S+++ tier. Boy, wife, best wife.